Can you remember when last we heard about Radloff? You remember Radloff? He was the yellow-banded Songololo from the Americas. And somehow, if you remember the story, he found his way onto the space station. It's a long story, but it's good news. We're going to hear more about Radloff today. You see, Radloff, we discovered, has come back down from the space station. We don't know when it happened, but it did. And he tells the story about all the stuff that was going on. He was having so much fun on the space station that he, in fact, lost track of time. Then he heard the people talking about the fact that they were going to go back home being back down to Earth. Oh no, he thought, I'm getting so used to being up here and floating around and doing fun things. And then he heard that a spacecraft had come from Earth and brought new people to the space station, new astronauts, and that he was going to be going back to Earth with the ones that had been on the space station. Well, now he was excited because he hadn't seen his family for a long time. They'd become friends with Radloff on the space station. He became one of their pets. Well, the only one. And the only Songololo ever to go to space. They packed him up carefully in his little box, and they put him inside this crate where it was quite dark. Oh, they said, once we're on the spacecraft going back home, we'll open it up and you can see more light. And then he heard it was going to happen that day. It won't take long, they said. It'll be less than a day and we'll be home. Well, they packed him into this box and put him through a little round hatch into the spacecraft. And it was this spacecraft that was going to take them back home. Once they were in the spacecraft, they opened up the box that he was in, and he could see through the plastic of the little container that he lived in. And he could see a lot of activities going on, and dials and knobs and buttons and things. And then he heard them say, okay, anytime now we're going to be ready and we're going to leave the space station. And then it happened. It was like a click. And slowly the space capsule they were in, that's what they call them, space capsules, moved away from the space station, drifted further and further away, until it was a far, far way away. Oh, he thought, now we're getting closer to getting home. And then the stuff started to happen all around him so fast. They were moving so fast, he didn't know what was going on. And then things were clonking and banging, and suddenly they turned to one side and started falling. It felt as though he was going very fast because there was a rattling and a bumping sound. Oh dear, he heard them say, the temperature was going up higher and higher and higher. And then he heard the number of the degrees of the temperature, and he thought, my goodness me, that's like 100 times as hot as the hottest day we've ever had in summer back home. Wow! And after a while, everything seemed to settle down. There was a bump, and they heard the radio, he heard it too, saying, drogue chutes deployed. Now, I'm not sure what they look like, but it seems like they're little parachutes that come out from the spaceship and that slow it down while it's dropping towards Earth. Because, again, he heard them say when they started coming down into Earth, they were doing about 17,000 kilometers per hour. He can't even imagine how much that is. As they fell slowing down with these chutes, he heard them say that the big chutes are now going to open. Oh, okay. And then they did. And there were 4 of them. And that slowed this space capsule right down. And he began feeling quite comfortable. It wasn't so hot anymore. It had become normal temperature inside that little space capsule again. And they slowed down more and more and more, and they were going down, down, down towards the Earth. And then he realized, because of the way they were talking with the people on the radio, they weren't going to land on the ground. They were going to land in the sea. That's weird, hey? You land in the sea. But they were going to splash down in the sea. And then it happened. Boom! He felt them hit something. And it was a sort of soft hit. And then they started bouncing around, and he realized from what he'd heard about people who went on boats that this is what happened when you went on a boat. Long story made very short. They were there for a while, and then they began to feel themselves being lifted up. And the next thing he knew, they were being lifted onto a ship. They called it a rescue boat. Wow! He can't even remember all the things that happened to him that day, but there were lots. The end of it, though, was that in his little box, he was taken back to the Space Center, and then somebody went and started looking for where he had come from and how he had got there so that he could be taken home. My guess is, next time we hear about Radloff, it's going to be when he gets home to be with his family and friends, all the Songololos from America that belong to his group, the Yellow-Banded Songololo. Anyway, I'll chat with you again another time. Take care. Bye for now.